right. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marsha Kerr Talley, and here with this this episode of Candid Conversation. So today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this idea of emotional damaged people always being promiscuous. So recently, I came across this post. And in this post, this gentleman by the name of Dr. Umar stated that emotionally damaged women were always promiscuous. Apparently, he reckons that these women have to have constant validation. And so because they need that constant validation, they always have to have tons of men around them, tons of men in them, tons of men through them, you know. And I'm here to tell you and him and those of you who hold this belief that it's not true. Now, are there people who are promiscuous because they have been emotionally traumatized? Absolutely. Are there people who are celibate, who've governed themselves accordingly, who've restrained themselves from being involved with other people, who've become isolated because of emotional damage? Yes, there are those people. Now, additionally, are there people who've gone through various stages of life from promiscuity into where they're like, I don't want to do that anymore because it does not serve me well? Absolutely. So for us to live in the absolute and believe that everybody falls under a certain blanket is a flawed way of thinking and being. And I've fallen into that same category of wanting to have blanket statements that fit everybody. And the truth of the matter is it doesn't. It doesn't. So when we talk about promiscuity, we are talking about people who are frequently involved with numerous people in a sexual manner. Now, some people do talk about liberation, and then there is the term of what they call sexual positivity. And I am now at the stage of life where I do believe strongly, wholeheartedly, that sex should not be treated casually. I strongly and wholeheartedly believe that sex is a sacred act that can promote healing and wellness when used properly, when used intentionally, when used safely. And when we talk about safely, we're not just talking about the physicality of it, not just the physical aspect of it, but realizing that when you engage with someone in such a sexually intimate way, that they could bring harm to you physiologically, emotionally, and mentally. And when we talk about physiology, we are talking about the biology of things and how that works and how it affects us. So, for example, let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say this. Have you ever dealt with a guy? And when you're done, your whole pH balance is askewed. It's a mess. Like your body starts to cleanse itself in a way, and it's not because you have any kind of viruses or anything like that. You didn't contract anything, but your body is actually cleansing itself. And so there's certain discharges and whatnot happening because your body is cleansing yourself. Some of you have used this as an indication that the person you're messing with or was in a relationship with, or your partner, your husband, was cheating because the pH balance is off. That's a real thing. It's a real thing and not to be underestimated. It's a real thing. And some people are simply not compatible with you on that physical level because they will mess up your stuff, right? The same thing happens on an emotional level. When those people right after you think you just had the greatest time of your life and the right after they ghost you and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I just introduced you inside of me, into my life, into my body for you to just act like I am nobody? That does something to a person. After you've been involved with someone physically and realize that they are also entertaining 2-3 other people. And some of you may know that, and you may also be involved in that, but there are some things that happens to us emotionally. And some of those things happen because of what has happened to us emotionally. So while I don't agree that everyone who has been emotionally damaged is promiscuous, I do understand that some people who've been through emotional pain have done some things they later regret. Like, give me 1 second, because Midnight, my cat, she's here. Hold on. Come on, Mama. Come on in. All right. So Midnight has joined the party. If you have not listened to that episode where I talk about Midnight, please do, because it was very insightful. And, I'm one of those people, I will take one thing and I take some layers and layers and layers from it. But yeah, Midnight is in the house. Whoop, whoop. But yeah, so I think when we talk about people, when we do things, it comes from somewhere. It's coming from somewhere. Rarely do we just do things because, even though some of us feel like it is, no, I'm just doing it. What we don't understand, because some of us are not introspective, is that even though the damage isn't seen, or even though the trauma isn't like glaring at you, it happens and operates in the background. And so just like PC, a laptop, one of your devices, where sometimes you're looking at the screen, that's the one you're focused on, but you either forgot that you opened up some other screens and they're in the background, or there's some things in the operating system that's operating and working that you don't even know about and you don't even know how to remove. And you're going to have to learn how to remove it, or get someone professional to remove it, or close it down, shut it down, whatever it is, or repair it. So the same thing happens with us. There are certain things that are happening on the back burner, on the backside, behind the scenes, that affects how we do things and why we do things, that we don't always get to recognize. We don't always admit it because we don't see it. So again, while I do not agree that emotionally damaged people are always women, emotionally damaged women, because he targeted women specifically, are always promiscuous, I will say that there are women who are promiscuous because they have been emotionally damaged. Okay? So I will say that. Which now brings me to this point of, okay, so we're emotionally damaged. What do we do? Now, I do have a very controversial perspective now, and it's taken me some time to get here, but I stand on it fully. Okay. And I'm not ever going to be a hypocrite with you. I'm not going to tell you something and then act like I'm doing it when I know I'm not, or whatever. I'm not going to do that. If I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. If I am, so I'm going to tell you. So what I stand on fully, hold on, let me close this door. Whew, goodness. Because Midnight decided she's going to step on out and left the door open. She doesn't close doors behind her. All right, I know what you're thinking. She's a cat. But something I do stand on right now. Oh, she's back. This girl. Are you back, Midnight? Yeah, okay. I'll just leave the door open then. Okay. She taught me something. I just leave the door open so she can come in and go out. Go back to that episode where I talk about Midnight. She's not always like this, but there are times where she is. Yes, ma'am. Yeah? What happened? Oh, no. You gonna let me talk now? Maybe. Okay. So one of the things I stand on when we talk about, yes, emotionally damaged, emotionally traumatized, what do you do with that? Because if you already know that, do you really want to just continue your life in that way? That is an option. It's an option to just carry on living life the way that you've always lived it. You may find comfort in different people, several people, many people, but in reality, most of us cannot sustain that lifestyle for one thing or the other, one reason or the other. One of it is we age and things change. And so we are not always able to sustain a lifestyle of promiscuity. We're just not, right? So that's one thing. So on that level, can you continue living a life like that? Can you continue living a cycle, living in that perpetual cycle of pain and hurt, and then acting from that place? It's also not a sustainable way to live, because that means you're constantly causing damage. And when you're constantly causing damage, you're living in survival mode, and your brain is in survival mode because it also affects you that way too, right? And I'm not going to go deep into that because that's not my area of expertise. I can just talk about that from my personal experience and observing other people through empirical observation and data. So someone else may be able to tell you how it affects you on a neurological aspect. But I will say this. Do you really want to live your life in a perpetual state of pain and hurt and trauma? Probably not, right? I am going to go out on a limb and say several of us, in fact, maybe most of us, want to heal, want to deal with those things that have affected us and sabotaged us and caused us to live a life that is dim and is causing us not to live our fullest, glowiest, brightest, happiest life. I am going to go out on a limb and say that most of us just want to be happy. And when you are in a perpetual state of trauma, happiness is the furthest thing from you. You are on a pursuit. You are seeking it. And you will land in places all the time that will not facilitate happiness, but it's a quick Band-Aid. It's a quick dose of something. And then you're right back to the reality of what it truly is. So the what I would think is the option, the best thing for us to do is to heal. So here's what I'm going to say that is a little bit controversial. And let me close the story again because Midnight stepped out again. Hold on. My controversial point is this. I think some of us need to abstain from sex and we need to practice celibacy. And let me be clear. Some of you have the idea, because I've seen this and I've heard it, I've read it, that you believe that people who are practicing celibacy are those people who have been ran through and gone through, and now they want to be at a place of, oh, they're abstaining. Ladies and gentlemen, that might be correct. Again, we just talked about, do you want to live this perpetual state of trauma? Do you actually think promiscuity is sustainable? Do you want to live a life where you're constantly just running from one person to the next, being under one person to the next, being over out? Is that a life you want to live? For me, it was a no. It's a no. So of course, you get to, as a person, as a human with free will, you get to choose. You get to choose whether or not you want to maintain the lifestyle that did not serve you well, or you want to change it. Yeah, some people are going to run their mouth and want to say some things, but you know what? You can own it. You can say, you know what, bro? Sis, you're right. I have been run through. And you don't have to tell people that. You don't have to disclose anything about anything to anybody. But if you choose to, you can own it. Yeah. I've been run through. I've had my share of this, that, and the other. But I'm at a stage in my life that I want something different. And so I'm going to do different, and I'm going to commit to that difference. So them people who are looking at you and talking about, you blah, blah, well, keep looking, honey, because you are going to be in the same state 5 years from now. And what's going to happen with a person who chooses to do something different for the enhancement of their life? They're going to be in a different place. And not everyone's place looks grandeur. doesn't look like obviously amazing, because some of, we weigh up success in different ways. But the small steps, for some people, it's going to be a small step. Just when you think about alcoholism. So some of you absolutely need to abstain from alcohol, like period, full stop. Not a sip, not a nothing, nothing. And that might be for a period of time until you have developed enough self-control and self-management to where you can have a sip of alcohol, but it doesn't take you over the edge. You don't go into the extremities, right? So it's the same thing. And it blows my mind how much we have normalized sex to be such a casual act, a toy, a plaything, a thing that we use to fulfill a bored spot, a thing that we use just to greet someone. We meet a person for the first time on a date, or we casually like them enough to smile at them. We think it's enough to then open ourselves to them sexually. It's crazy when you actually think about it. It is crazy that we allow complete strangers into the most intimate parts of ourselves, and we don't question it. We question the people who are like, whoa, 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 whoa. We frown on those people. The people who are like, no. I have boundaries. I actually care about what goes in my body, and I care about what affects my mind and my emotions and my will. Because when you are honest with yourself, you know that the act of sex has consequences. And some of us cannot handle the consequences of sex. So therefore, it's better for some of us to practice celibacy and abstain. And I'm not saying do that forever. I'm saying do that until you develop enough self-restraint, self-control, self-management, so you can choose better partners, make different choices for yourself, and heal from those emotional traumas. That's what I'm saying. You cannot get better as an alcoholic. For example, let me use that because that resonates differently with people. And maybe that will help to drive the point across. As an alcoholic who've seen how you've become abusive and angry, and you've destroyed your family and your finances and your kidneys and your liver and your organs and your body, how it's caused you to be in a depressive state, or if you use it to help you get out of a depressive state, how when you are not trying to use it, how it brings you even further down. You've seen the consequences of overindulgence in alcohol or overdependence on alcohol. You have seen how it's affected your life. And when you get to the first step, to the point first, when you're disgusted, because that's part of the healing. When you're disgusted with your situation, when you look around and you say, whoa, this is where I am. The little boy that I was grew up to be this kind of man. The little girl that I was grew up to be this type of woman. When you get to the point where you're disgusted with your situation, the next step is, I need to make a change. You cannot make changes when you see there's no issue. If you see there's no issue and everything is all hunky-dory, you're not going to make a change. If you don't see there's a problem, you're not going to make a change. So in order for you to make any changes in your life, you have to first get disgusted with it. You have to first see that there's a problem. You have to first be able to admit that you need to do better and that you want better. And that change is going to be uncomfortable. Some of us don't like any level of discomfort. We don't like any level of not having anything. We want everything and we want it now. We don't like waiting for a thing. We don't like going through any kind of process. We want it now. And because of that, we keep ourselves in the same perpetual state of trauma. So if you think about alcoholism and you think about people who made the choice to become sober, for some people, they have cut out alcohol altogether. Bam. Some people went through a process for them to get to that place. Some people, after they've gone through that process, they never touch alcohol again because they feel as though they can't. They never want to go back to that place. And so for some people, it's going to take years of developing a new pattern, a new habit of how to handle themselves in social situations, or handle themselves when they're in a depressive state, handle themselves when they are in states of pressure. It's a new habit they have to create, because you have to replace those habits that cause you to create the situations of pain and damage and all of that. You have to replace that with something else. And so when you think about it now, when you think about that, drawing that parallel, some people are able to take a drink once in a while after they've gone through their process. Some people can do that. Take a drink once in a while, but they're not dependent on it. It doesn't destroy their life. It doesn't consume them, and they can get on with life, right? Some people just can't do that. So you have to know yourself. You have to know what you can handle and what you can't. You have to know that. Can you believe midnight is back? Seriously. Come on, mama. You want to go in the house, but the door's open. So for those of you who do not know, right? So I have turned my shed into my office in my backyard. So the door, because the weather is really nice today, not really nice. The sun isn't out, but it's not too cold and it's not rainy here in England. But the door is open. She can run inside, but she wants me to walk with her to go to the house. And I'm not doing that because I'm talking to you. But so let's bring it back a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So essentially, I started with this idea that people who are promiscuous, or reverse, people who have been emotionally damaged are not always promiscuous. And I truly believe that. Not every single person who have gone through some things must, or women, because a lot of time we like to target women, right? We like to, especially when it comes to sex and our bodies, it's just easy to point fingers at women. People do that so often. So it's easy to say women who have been emotionally damaged are promiscuous, but that's not how that works. Not all of us are that. Although I do agree that people who are promiscuous, some of them have been emotionally damaged. I agree with that. But we have to move past that. We are now at the stage where, okay, so we're emotionally damaged. What do we do? And one of it, I'm going to suggest to you, and have suggested to you, that maybe you reconsider how you're using sex. Reconsider how often you're having sex and with whom. If you're in a relationship, it's a different conversation, completely different conversation. If you're in a relationship and you're in a marriage, different conversation. This is for my single people. This is for my single folks out here. Those of you who are married or in relationships, you have to find, just like single people, you have to find ways to heal through your trauma. And you have to find ways to heal through your trauma without using sex as a Band-Aid. Sex can be healing. That level of intimacy can create some powerful, good vibes for you, good energy, good chemistry for you. But some of you are also using it improperly and recklessly, even in your marriages. Yes, ma'am. This girl, she is, I don't know, all over the place today. So all of us have to find a way to handle our emotional traumas. You have to find ways. It's not sustainable to live the way you're living. There is life beyond emotional trauma. There is life beyond promiscuity. There is life beyond all the pain and the hurt and the normal that you've experienced in your life. There is life beyond that. There's a softer, more relaxed, and more fulfilling, happy way of living and being That's where you want to get to. And you can only do that if you heal. You can't bypass that step. You can't bypass that step. I know it sounds so cliche, but honey, I'm telling you, you cannot bypass that step. You have to heal. You have to heal. And you're not going to get that by running into the arms of someone else or between their thighs. You're just not. Okay? You have to do some healing, because once that person lets you down, you're going to be right back. So with that, because my midnight is over here doing a lot, I'm going to wrap this thing up. But I'm Marsha Kerr Talley, and I'm here to remind you that your life is worth living, and happiness is definitely your birthright. It is yours to have. Sadness and bitterness and anger and pain is not the only thing you're supposed to experience in this human life, in this human experience. You are supposed to enjoy living. And enjoy living doesn't always mean having sexual intercourse with everyone you meet. Be responsible in what you do. Be intentional in the things you do and the people who you invite into your space. And perhaps consider celibacy, abstaining for a while, to see how that can facilitate your healing from emotional traumas. Okay, I am Marsha Kerr Talley. I am wishing you the best in all you do. And we'll talk, and we'll talk soon. Bye.